determine who go to the White House and who stay in the doghouse. You're the one who has that power. You and I have never seen democracy. All we've seen is hypocrisy. When we open our eyes today and look around America, we see America not through the eyes of someone who has enjoyed the fruits of Americanism. We see America through the eyes of someone who has been the victim of Americanism. We don't see any American dream. We've experienced only the American nightmare. We haven't benefited from America's democracy. We've only suffered from America's hypocrisy. And the generation that's coming up now can see it and are not afraid to say it.
Yeah.
And are not afraid to say it. 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 And are not afraid to say it.
And are not afraid to say it. Welcome, welcome, welcome. You are listening to Black Westchester Presents the People Before Politics radio show every Sunday, 6 to 8 on InTheMixRadio.com. Black by popular demand. You got your host, Damon K. Jones, in the house.
What's up? What's up? What's up?
I be AJ Woodson, and we have the lovely co-host, Lorraine Lopez.
Hey, hey, hey.
Yeah, we got a couple of guests coming in. You see by my head where I'm representing the Yonkers Fire. We have the Yonkers Fire Union President, Barry McGoey, coming in a few minutes. Going to drop some science on what's going on in there in Yonkers. And then we have Sandy Bernabei and Tasha D. Young coming in to talk about some new legislation. So this has been a crazy week. Of course, the May issue, the April issue of People Before Politics. The May issue of Black Westchester's out on the streets now, everywhere. I know I've been getting calls, where can I get it? Because evidently it's running out. Because I've been told by 3 people today, Damon, that they can't find it at Food Town.
They ran out in Greenberg.
Yeah, so it's like, it's like, yo, Food Town, they can't find it. So I'm like, yo, they running through them.
Yeah,
especially this issue.
Yeah.
This commemorative issue,
and that's good, and that's good. I'm glad they running out.
We got copies up in Albany last night.
We're gonna make another delivery. We're gonna make another delivery this week. Try to refill a lot of the racks, a lot of the spots. Yeah, Food Town is done. You know, and
CBS and Fleetwood.
Yeah, I'm gonna get some more at Food Town.
I heard the library's done too.
Really?
That's what I heard on the way here. I don't know. I've been there.
Susie said that Max left her 3 bundles and they're gone.
Oh, he usually don't need that much.
At
the bank.
Bundles.
Wow.
Yeah, at the bank.
Gee. Well, we thank everybody who's been supporting Black Westchester. Coming up on our 1-year anniversary in a couple of months. Probably gonna do something a little special. You know what I'm saying? But so what else is going on? So there's been there's been a lot of rumors. Like, I just want to address this now one time because my phone has been blowing up every time there is some kind of posting on Facebook. So one post claims that 3 individuals close to Mayor Thomas, Joe Spezio, his brother Butch Thomas, and Roberta James, who was his campaign manager, were subpoenaed and have to turn themselves in this week. And I will say one time, because I got tired of saying it 20 times to individuals, I don't.
I know, I
Black Westchester hasn't been able to confirm or deny any of that. That's why we didn't write it. So I am looking into that, but I don't have an official answer. But the second rumor that I heard was at an event last night at Mount Vernon High School. I forgot what kind of event it was. Basically, Mayor Thomas allegedly told Deputy County Executive Ken Jenkins and State Senator Jeff Klein to
Go fuck himself.
Yeah, to go,
man.
To go.
He said, "Go fuck yourself." That's what they allegedly. He go fuck yourself. That's what he said.
Yeah. So
and I saw Ken Jiggy today. I couldn't get dude. He was on the other side of the room. I tried my hardest to get over there, man. I said, yo, dude, really? Did that really happen?
Because I've been reading all kinds of stuff. People say Ken should have punched him in his face. Like, it was crazy stuff on Facebook. But so the only thing we do know is tomorrow, the trial starts with about the EOC with
really?
Mayor Thomas and crew against Andre Wallace and his company.
Oh, that's right. The trial is tomorrow.
The trial starts tomorrow on the 16th.
Where at? Where's the trial? White Plains?
It's the White Plains Supreme Court. I think that's the one with the Martin Luther King statue in front of it. Yeah, it'll be there tomorrow. I think the other side has to present their case. I don't think they're doing a jury trial. I think it's doing the judge. So they won't be picking a jury. So the Thomas administrative side has to present their case. And that's tomorrow. And then on Tuesday, May 1st, begins the AG's case against Mayor Thomas.
That's the good one, too.
So there's a lot of that coming up. And we're going to keep you informed on all of that. So that's what's going on. What else happened? There was some other stuff that happened this week that I can't think of right now. What else happened this week other than outside of,
excuse me,
God bless you. Outside of the Thomas administration.
Well, Monday, May 7th,
yes.
We will be airing. It's going to be called the Black Westchester Magazine. Hey, come on in.
Black Westchester on the radio.
On the radio.
Hey, how are you? Yes.
Yeah.
Have a seat.
We're going to be every first Monday of the month. We will be on WVOX AM 1490
from 11
to noon.
Yeah.
And it's going to be called the Black Westchester Radio.
Black Westchester on the radio.
On the radio.
Yeah.
Power Hour.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
So once a month.
When is it again?
The first Monday of every month, but May 7th.
Yeah, May 7th is the first. And it's every first Monday of the month for now and forever until they get tired of us.
11 to 12 to noon. Yeah.
Noon. So it's a great slot.
When
I
people
thank
having
Mr.
their lunch.
O'Shaughnessy for giving us the opportunity to come on WVOX.
That's what's up.
That's gonna be a good look.
That
It's a good look
this
for both.
right here is a good look.
Well, I mean,
It's
it's a great addition.
That's nice.
It's a great addition to the empire.
Yes,
You know what I'm
absolutely.
saying? To the empire the budding empire that we're building.
Absolutely.
You know
I
what I'm
never
saying?
turn the mic down.
Yeah, so
So
you know,
wherever a mic
so we
is,
can-
No, you don't.
wherever a mic is, if they allow me to speak, I'm gonna talk on the mic.
We started-
I'm gonna talk on the mic.
we started representing on WFAS with Bob Marone, and then he moved to WVOX, and I'm on VOX on his show at
Thursdays.
7:20 Tuesday.
Oh,
Tuesday mornings, and now we have our own hour once a month. Black Westchester on the radio, which the first Monday will follow. We'll put the paper out, and then we'll be discussing what's in the paper and stuff like that,
and more.
and
who's
more.
your first guest?
We don't have that locked in yet, but
We're locking somebody in.
Yeah.
Okay.
God willing, he'll make time.
And
Yes.
it'll be nice.
It's gonna be nice.
So I was looking for other things that happened outside of the Thomas administration, the Thomas family, but the other piece of news that couldn't remember. Preston, the older brother of Mayor Richard Thomas, was arrested, arraigned, and held without bail for charge of second degree criminal possession of a forged instrument, a felony, after a traffic stop shortly after 10 a.m. He was ordered held without bail following his arrest for allegedly driving with false registration tags. Officials tell Black Westchester Preston is currently being held in the county jail. According to the felony complaint, the arresting officer noticed that 2 temporary New Jersey registration tags on a 2005 BMW Thomas was driving appeared fake because they were laminated and had different font.
I would have done a better job.
And they were laminated and had different font. She also reported that Thomas claimed he had brought the tags on East 3rd Street. Now, I want to stop right there.
Tell him to come see me next
time. No. But
put some good tags.
Yeah. But I just want to confirm something real quick. I know, like down south, you know what I'm saying? They got motor vehicles in the supermarket or something. Is there East 3rd Street branch of motor vehicles somewhere that I don't know about on 3rd Street? Anyway.
Yo, he talked real quick, didn't he?
And also he also was found with 4 plastic.
He sang like a bird.
He also found with 4 bags of what appeared to be marijuana, according to the court documents. At his arraignment, the judge declined to grant Thomas bail because he had 3 prior felony convictions.
Wow.
According to the spokesperson for Westchester County District Attorney's Office, a felony hearing was scheduled for Tuesday. Stay tuned for Black Westchester for more on that developing story. So that also happened this week.
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Was he working for the city of Mount Vernon?
Well, in Lohud, who broke the story, has him as an employee of, is it DPW?
That's what I thought I read that.
And,
DPW.
But there's no proof of that. Supposedly, he's getting a check and he's not clocking in, according to officials from City Hall.
You gotta tell the AG that
too. I'm quite sure the AG knows already. Yeah, so... and then the other thing that happened. Oh yeah, I can't forget that. So, like is customary fashion, and we've dealt with this before. When things come out, Mayor Thomas decided to take several individuals to court, including Andre Wallace and Councilmen Marcus Griffin and Andre Wallace, and several others, including former Public Safety Commissioner Robert Kelly, who has been quiet since he was fired in April 2016. Well, he called Black Westchester and gave us a statement. And basically, I think I talked about this a little bit last week. It is suspiciously convenient that Mayor Thomas makes this announcement 2 years later, but only 2 weeks before his appearance in court on corruption charges for which he is recently arrested. It's a desperate measure by a desperate man. So that also happened this week, and real talk, I don't know why, and this is just me. I think I did say this last week. Robert Kelly is a thorough individual. He headed up the Westchester Intelligence, whatever that was called, department. He works for the TSA now. He knows where all the bodies were buried when he was here. He's a former Mount Vernon Police Department. He worked for the Mount Vernon. No, before that, he worked for the department before for years. So he knows the department well, and he is the one person who has not gone after you, who has not said anything, and has been quiet since he's been fired. And
they're grasping at straws, man.
And it's like you just woke up a sleeping giant, like you just asked for, like it was like if you woke up and be like, all right, so I got everybody coming after me. What can I do to make someone else come after me? Bang! Let me bother the one person who's not bothering me now.
He regrets it big time.
I'm quite sure. I mean, that goes to your people. They were having the same conversation on Meet the Press about Trump. It goes about the people that you have around you, your advisors, those people that you keep close in your inner circle. I mean, you need people that's going to tell you, well, you need people that you're going to respect and listen to, one. Because with Trump, he does have people telling him stuff, he just won't listen. Right. You know what I'm saying? But right, but I think Mayor Thomas doesn't have, well, I know he doesn't, everyone in his corner, everyone in his camp does not have his best interests at heart. Or the city's best interests at heart. So, he gets bad advice. And then he acts on emotions, like he just,
well, if he said fuck you to Ken Jenkins, that's emotions.
Oh, no, excuse me. He didn't say that. He said, "Go fuck yourself."
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You got to get it right. You got to get the quote. You got to get the quote right.
I'm sorry.
He said, "Go fuck yourself."
There you go.
To the deputy county executive
and
the
the senator.
New York
State Senator Jeff Klein.
And I repeat, he said, "Go fuck yourself."
Damn.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
I put allegedly.
Well,
there were people there,
right,
that I've talked to that said they were there.
Yes.
And they heard it.
Right.
They heard it, then it happened.
I mean,
if it walks like a duck.
I was at the Democratic breakfast today, and the mayor came in, and I was waiting, and Ken had just left, man. I was trying to see, the chemistry, how that would play out. Of course. And and I know, by the vibe of the room, a lot of people knew what happened last night. And but Ken had left. Ken had left.
Imagine the atmosphere if Ken would have stayed.
Oh, I would love to saw that.
It would have been wonderful because he would maintain his dignity.
Right.
And what he did was.
Oh, and put your mic closer
right,
to
he
you.
would have.
Yeah, it moves here.
He would maintain his dignity.
Right.
And it would just.
Right.
Blaring.
We have a couple of people that are chiming in on things. Tasha Diaz first said, "Hello, family." Lorraine.
Hey,
hello
Tasha,
to Damon.
what up?
Hello to Damon and AJ
what's happening?
as well. Love the show. It's definitely a good look. Frankie Frost said yes. Frankie Frost said DPW Nigro gave a response. Frankie Frost also said Robert Kelly is the man that Thomas said he trusts him the way he trusts God.
Yeah, you're right about that. You're right about that. And God spoke the other day.
He said this at Greater Centennial Church. It was before, actually, that period after you elected, but you didn't swear in yet. He was there with his wife, Mayor Thomas, and Robert Kelly was there with I think his significant other. I don't know if they were married. I think his girlfriend. And he got up and he said these words, and I can look up the date again, and all Centennial services are recorded. Actually, we should have it on YouTube. I'll find it. And he said, when you get to know Robert Kelly, you will know why I trust him like I trust the Lord.
Yeah,
but let me finish that. So that less than 90 days later, he fired Robert Kelly. So I kind of hope he trusts the Lord a little bit more. So
you're gonna have to trust the Lord on May. What was that? May 1st. May 1st.
Right, May 1st.
Yeah, you have to trust the Lord.
Frankie Ford said it is on video, and he did say it again at his swearing in.
Craig Jackson. Say what Craig Jackson said.
Yep. Shout out to. I'm getting ready to get to everybody. Shout out to Nicole Page. Shout out to Kenneth Chamberlain Jr. Frank Trulio. Craig Jackson. Definitely a Damon K. Jones fan.
Hey, Craig Jackson.
Damon K. Jones. Because when you was on Ernie's show, he left comments for you there too.
Yes. Thank you, Brother Craig.
Damon K. Jones is all over the place, representing our race. Peace, love, and respect, and much progress. Thanks to you, my good and great friend.
Thank you, Brother Craig. Appreciate you, man. Thanks for the support.
Caitlin Gleason said, "Hey guys."
Hi, Caitlin.
Who else is on? We have Ken Bright, Max Maxwell, and the Future Society is in the house. And Uncle Frank just said, "What's up, guys?"
What's up?
Yeah.
Ken Bright.
He said, "What's up, boys? Hello."
Hello. There's women here too.
Okay, I said guys because I wasn't saying boys. But yeah.
Oh, good.
Hey,
good
Ken.
catch, AJ.
Oh wait, somebody asked, "Is the court case?" I don't remember who said it, but I didn't read it. Is the Monday court case open to the public?
Yes.
Okay, that's
everything in it is open to the public. I mean, you can just go and watch. I have something to do, but if I didn't, I would be there watching.
That sounds so
What did Maureen Walker say?
Maureen Walker?
Because he said, was Thomas there to hear what Maureen Walker said?
No, he wasn't. Thomas was not there to hear Maureen Walker's acceptance speech. But I would say she didn't mention Thomas by name, but she did say in her years as being an elected official, she has never been investigated by the Attorney General's office.
Huh.
And which is that is a fact. So It is what it is. I mean, that's a fact.
And she was there, what, 16, 20 years or something?
Yeah. I think she's the longest serving elected official in the state of New York.
She said that in her acceptance speech?
Yeah.
Cool. Good for her.
Yeah, I think she, the last time when we honored her for Black History Month, from my research, she was the longest serving elected official in the state of New York. Consecutive.
Wow.
Consecutive. And hats off to her. She did a great job. Unfortunately, some of the problems with the older elected officials that they do not understand the power of social media, the power of Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Mayor Thomas used that. They didn't understand that when something is lodged against them, they have to respond immediately, because if you don't, the lie becomes the truth. If you don't respond within the next 24 hours, if you respond a week later, it's too late. That lie is the truth, no matter what information that you give after them. And to understand that the first person to the media is the first person who told the truth. So, I mean, it's a lesson learned for candidates coming and candidates that left, and even the Democratic Party. It's a lesson, in this day and age of social media and politics. So I hope.
Well, I will say one thing, with the exception of not always the first one is because there's been people that's been the first one and then they got caught in a lie. So you know what I'm saying? But they was the first one. They was the first one, but then they got caught in a lie.
Yeah.
And
I mean, if you don't respond, then the lie becomes the truth.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you're telling the truth.
And Uncle Frank said, and girls.
Thank you, Uncle Frank. Peace, bro.
That's it.
Yeah, we 6:30. We're expecting Barry McGoey, president of the Yonkers Firefighters Union.
They're looking at 30 layoffs.
Well, that's what they say. But I called Barry. Oh, Barry, come on in. He said he's here. Yeah.
No, that was funny.
Come on in, brother, man.
You see I represent, right?
Yeah.
You see I represent, right?
Got my color too.
What's up, my brother?
Turn your mic on. There you go.
How's everybody?
Everybody's great, man. Thank you for coming to the show, man.
Welcome.
Yes,
friend of the show,
How
friend
are
of
you?
the paper.
Yes.
And first time on the show. And as I was speaking, there was an article out about the financial status of Yonkers. First, let me start off. We have invited Mike Spano on the show
numerous times.
Numerous times.
Actually, he's confirmed twice and not shown up. Let's be clear. And
but I think after this show, I think he's coming.
I bet you he won't.
But there's an article that was talking about the financial situation that's going on in Yonkers, and that they were looking to lay off around 200 city employees. But what caught my eye in the article, that they specifically spoke about the firefighters. I can understand a blanket statement, we have to do this, but it was a specific, speaking about the firefighters and their raises. And I thought that was very unique that they pointed the firefighters out. And knowing you, I said, man, let me call Barry. I said, Barry, you got to come on the show, man. We got to talk about this. So let's start with the financial situation from you being a union president, and I let people know I'm pro-labor all the way. I'm pro-union all the way. So don't even think about bashing unions. I could bash a union because I'm a union member if I feel they're not doing right. But I believe unions play a great role in society, no matter what people say, because we wouldn't have what we have in the private sector if it wasn't for unions fighting for them.
And they got families to take care of.
That's right. But in Yonkers, from your perspective, with that article and the financial situation, what, from your perspective as a union president, explain to what's going on to the listeners.
Well, it's very hard to explain everything that goes on in Yonkers, especially as it relates to this administration and its history of just negativity towards the Yonkers Fire Department and Local 628. It's very unfortunate. You can go back to early 2012 and look at Journal News articles where the mayor went out and attacked the firefighters, falsely claiming that we're the highest paid firefighters in the state of New York, in North America, he actually said, falsely claiming that we work the least amount of hours in North America. Just ridiculous claims that we've refuted publicly, privately, for years now, and we find ourselves being the scapegoat for basically total mismanagement of the finances in the city of Yonkers. Yonkers has a tremendous amount of development. We're 20 minutes away from Grand Central Station. We have all the development on the west side, and the only thing they seem to be doing is pushing the people that are there out and bringing in rich people from Brooklyn and from Manhattan. And they're basically, they come to Yonkers to sleep. They don't add anything to the community. They pay high rents and come and go, leave at 7 o'clock in the morning, come back home at 11:30 at night, and you never see them. And if that's not bad enough.
I hope Mount Vernon is listening, because this is what they're trying to do to Mount Vernon right now.
Exactly.
This is what they're doing to Mount
Yeah,
well, yeah.
Very careful. And we're not getting the tax revenues to come along with it, because our industrial, I call it Aunt Ida, it's the Industrial Development Agency, gives all these abatements and tax incentives.
And tax breaks, yeah.
So we see Mr. Ginsburg up on North Warburton Avenue.
He's been around
right
for a
on the
while.
waterfront, doing development. And what he is touting and advertising is an ultra luxury development. They give him tax breaks. And who suffers? The taxpayers in the city of Yonkers, the school children in the city of Yonkers, the employees of the city of Yonkers. Everyone suffers for this. We have a tremendous amount of economic development in the city of Yonkers, and to see how our school children, the deplorable conditions they must try to learn in, without proper arts, without proper sports, without proper facilities, horrific meals that they're provided with. It's just totally unfortunate. And as you know, the vast majority of our school children are of color, either African American or Hispanic. And it's horrific what's going on in our school system and in the city. Now, you mentioned there was 200 layoffs. That's on the city side. They're also talking about 200 layoffs on the school side. For a total of 400 layoffs.
Wow.
And it's everybody else's fault. It's the governor's fault. It's the assembly's fault. It's the Senate's fault. It's everybody's fault except for the people who are actually running the city.
Wow.
Well, he said today, I told you this was coming. I tried to tell you this was coming.
I just wanted to point out again, Mount Vernon needs to pay attention, because this is the bill of goods that you're being sold. And what they're trying to turn, and what you're trying to turn it into, what you just said, with bringing it, attracting the people from downtown to come up here, and what you're left with, and no one hears that side of it. We're just hearing the dream of how it's going to make Mount Vernon such a thriving city. That's why it's important what you're saying right there.
No, I mean, it looks good on paper. They have these beautiful artist renderings with a diverse group of people walking down the street. But the reality is, who's living in this housing?
Right.
It's ultra luxury housing. These are people that are making $500,000 a year in New York City in the finance industry.
Is that the development up on Warburton?
All over
over Warburton through the square.
I drove by there today. I was like, Jesus Christ. I was like, I know this is not low income.
No.
There's no way that those are low income.
They got rid of all the low income people to put those people in there.
And to make matters worse, none of the building that's being done in the city of Yonkers, you look at all the cranes, all the towers going up, none of them are union jobs.
Really?
Wow.
We should be encouraging the unions to set up shop in Yonkers, to get some of this, and create apprenticeship programs and require them to actually hire through the apprenticeship program people from the community to actually teach them a trade.
Right.
Once you learn to become a carpenter or an electrician or a steam fitter or a plumber, that's a trade that you carry with you for the rest of your life to sustain your life.
Right.
And we know that the problems in our inner cities, most of the problems come down to economics and the fact that people do not have jobs. They don't have prospects for a good future to sustain themselves. And we really have to encourage that, especially in our inner cities, to get people into job training programs. And there's no better job training program than an apprenticeship program.
That's right.
And it serves two purposes. It provides the construction company with a basically entry-level force that are paid much less than what a full mechanic would get.
Right, right.
But you eventually build your way up
Right.
through the mechanics levels
Right.
and become a full-fledged mechanic in the different trades.
Right.
And that's something that I know the New York State AFL-CIO is pushing for very hard. They would love to get unions on some of these jobs in Yonkers, and it's just not happening.
It's funny because I was going to say, I heard this several times from Councilman Andre Wallace before he was councilman, having this, and he's listening right now and said, Barry's right on point. Speak, brother.
And the fact of the matter is, I hear politicians say they can't do it. I've talked to almost every member of the past city council, and I haven't had a chance to talk to some of the new members. But almost every development project that comes along needs a zoning variance.
Right.
So if I was on the city council, I said I am not going to vote for a zoning variance to allow Ginsburg or anybody else to develop one of these projects unless we ensure that it's going to be labor, unionized labor, and there's going to be an apprenticeship program
Right.
to get people in the community. And I'm not just
Right.
talking about apprenticeship program. We should be requiring that they hire a certain percentage
Right.
from the community.
Right.
Damon, we got the city council person coming in next week for that entire district. Maybe we can ask her the question. Shanae Williams.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And we'll ask Mike Cater too. You know, like why are these jobs not union?
Is Mike Cater coming?
No, well he wanted to have a meeting with me.
Oh,
Well, I'm sure he'll come.
Yeah, no, he'll come.
You know,
He came on
Shanae-
the campaign run.
He
Yeah.
came. He
Hey, you
came
gotta
a
come
couple
back.
of times.
Listen, Mike Cater will come, but that's something that we need to ask. You know.
But that whole development that he's talking about
Right.
all falls into the first district, and that would be Shanae Williams.
Oh, okay. That's all that Warburton stuff.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, almost the entire riverfront, waterfront in Yonkers is in the first district. I
Yeah.
think some of it may go into the sixth.
Second.
Yeah, possibly a very small sliver, but most of it is in the first district,
Yes.
which is Shanae Williams. She's a brand new
Right, brand new.
council member, so you know she needs to be brought up to speed and maybe educated
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
actually
Right.
shown.
Maybe she doesn't know.
Maybe
Yeah,
we need
I
to
mean-
educate her.
And-
or
and-
she
Sandy.
may have that position already. Well, I
Frank-
haven't had a chance to speak to her at length about this, but
Right.
it's something I feel passionate about because
Right.
you know in the fire department we respond to. You know, I'm very proud to be the president of Yonkers Firefighters. We respond to every area of the city.
Nice.
No matter where you live, what neighborhood you are, what color you are, what race you are, sex you are, we respond the same.
You
Right.
saved my dogs.
Yeah, and we
Well,
do
no,
a fantastic job.
not only that though, they have put out some fires by themselves in Mount Vernon. Because Mount Vernon was
Yeah.
on the other side of town fighting, and they came and put out.
Yeah.
I heard a couple of stories where you saved somebody's life and all this other
Mutual
stuff.
aid,
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're very proud of the work that we do on the fire side as well as the emergency medical services. We have one of the highest rate of actually shocking somebody, getting an external defibrillator.
Really?
Yeah, because we get there in the time. If you don't get there within 3 to 5 minutes, you're always going to get a no shock advised because basically the person's dead. If you
Wow.
can get there within that 5-minute period, there's a chance you can get a rhythm going, a shock, and actually resuscitate people. So we have one of the highest rates in the country because we do respond so quickly, and that's why these proposed cuts
Wow.
to the fire department
country.
are devastating. It's not just fires. We're the first responders that respond. Basically, we're first on scene to almost every emergency, every medical emergency.
Absolutely.
So if we're going to reduce the number of firefighters, we're going to have a longer wait, and there will be tragic repercussions as a result.
One of our listeners, Frank Chulio, who has Trusco supplies, he said another thing about these developers, they should be forced to buy their supplies from the community that they are building these things in.
As much as
You know,
possible.
that's
And
what-
also, if you can't legally force them, you can encourage them.
Right.
Because all these developers, they want tax breaks, and
Right.
they always come back for more.
Right.
Well,
So
good-
we should be encouraging them. If you can't force them, they should definitely be encouraged
Right.
to hire locally and to purchase locally.
Right.
Ginsburg's been around for over 30 years. He needs to support the community a little bit more, no?
Well, it can happen because, we can't say it can't happen because that was one of the reasons you have so many African-American millionaires out of Atlanta because the mayor at that time back then when they was developing Atlanta, he made sure that 30 to 40% went to people that lived in Atlanta. The contracts, the always brought it back to Atlanta, and that's how you have so many black millionaires in Atlanta because from that decision from that mayor that make sure that these contracts, I want 40% of these contracts to go to black businesses in Atlanta when they was developing the international airport. All that. So elected officials, they create the law. They can't. They can do any fucking thing.
They did the same thing with the entertainment business.
They make the law.
They did the same thing with the entertainment business. It was cheaper to film in Atlanta, but to film in Atlanta, you had to have 30-40% of the people working on the film from Atlanta.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? And then you got whatever tax breaks, and that's what that big Tyler Perry and everyone started shooting from Atlanta for
right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It was just like a boom, like everything was shot in Atlanta.
Well, we have a film office here in Yonkers, but I don't see many Yonkers actors or actresses.
Right.
Well, we say that about Mount Vernon. We have Mount Vernon, as far as Westchester, is one of the cheapest places to film, and we've had people like De Niro and all kinds of people, come through there in films and TV shows, and we got a budding film students, film people that aspire to be. They should be doing some kind of workshops. You know what I'm saying? Like encouraging, they have the kids come down and watch the set and see the different things, or, a workshop with
But you ever watch what happens at one of these studios when they're filming on site? They're 100% self-contained.
Yes.
They bring everything with them.
Yes.
They don't buy a cup of coffee and donuts.
They bring their own catering. Yeah, that's right.
Catering comes from Queens.
Yeah.
Nothing is purchased. Hardly anything is purchased locally. They're not staying in the local hotels.
Right.
They're not really spending any money in the community.
Right.
Maybe some of them will go to X2O or Zupa's to have a meal on a rare occasion.
Right.
But there is no money really being generated.
And that didn't even
with
pay
the exception of the fees.
They're not even paying the businesses properly. If the businesses, because there are businesses that don't know that they're entitled to certain things, and if they don't know, they don't get it.
Yeah, absolutely. Because they blocked off in front of my wife's shop, and she found out she's supposed to be compensated for that because they had two of the movie trailers parked right in front of the shop. So the city compensated her. I mean, and people. But if you don't know, you don't know. And someone told her.
And you're supposed to get X amount per day.
She's supposed to get compensated
per what you make and what you're losing that day. That you're supposed to get that and a little something extra.
Go ahead, Sandy.
Yeah, I want to say something about this gentrification, and people returning back to the inner city, wanting to take it for themselves, right, and taking over the waterfronts. In addition to everything we're talking about, this has been going on so long that there are cities now that, they're alarmed. They said, we valued the fact that we had diversity, and what has happened is that it's turned white. Right, and I want to point to San Francisco. San Francisco had a huge and rich history, right, of diversity, and when Silicon Valley, when all those people from Silicon Valley started buying up San Francisco, they noticed one year recently that the kindergarten class, the incoming class, were all white children, and so now they're trying to reverse it. Right, they're trying to go through all kinds of racial equity work through this government alliance for racial equity. I guess what I'm saying is that there's a lot of people who, after the fact, want to do something, and we have something to learn from them, right? And maybe we need to find out, like the initiatives that they are putting in place to bring people back, are the same initiatives that maybe we need to put in place to keep people there. And just in the paper this week, they said that the loss of housing drives poverty.
Yes, absolutely.
So in California now, in LA, they have a whole city of 56,000 people living in tents. I think they said it was in San Francisco
Tent City.
area. Tent City, right?
City.
Yeah.
But where are people going to go? So I'm just thinking that maybe the organizing has to happen now, because it's happening, and they're going to take over Yonkers. Of course they want Yonkers. Look at all that water and the charm of the town center and everything. So the organizing, I think, has to happen now rather than just reacting to it and complaining about it, coming to city council meetings on a regular basis. It's just organizing a base of people that says we have to prevent the culture from disappearing, the humanity of our city from disappearing, because that's really what happens, right? Look at New York City. It used to be neighborhoods of richness. It's gone.
Look at Harlem.
It's just heartbreak, right?
And parts of Brooklyn.
So we
and
know
someone
it's
said
coming.
Yonkers is on the way to becoming downtown Brooklyn. Somebody just wrote.
It's coming.
Barry, I have a question. I read that there was going to be, if there are layoffs, there's going to be 30 firefighters laid off.
Yes.
Could Yonkers even sustain that?
Oh my God.
No. It's the unfortunate thing is we're in Black Westchester Radio, we just hired the most diverse class of firefighters in the history of the city of Yonkers.
Last hire, first fire.
That's the way it works. So we'll have the most diverse group of laid-off firefighters we've ever had, as well as, along with those 30 layoffs, there'll be 30 demotions. So people who have taken promotional examinations, and amongst those 30 people who will be demoted, we have a very high percentage of minorities there. I haven't gone through the list totally, but it's a very high number of minorities who will be disproportionately affected by demotions as well as layoffs.
Wow.
And it's, just the other day, a scathing report came out from the Comptroller's office. It was actually the same day the mayor proposed his budget, where a scathing report from the Comptroller's office criticizing the city of Yonkers, as well as the city council, for fiscal mismanagement and, inappropriate accounting procedures that were done. And it's, for someone that's been paying attention to the budget for a long time, we all knew this was coming. When you settle labor contracts that hadn't been settled for years, they come at a cost. And now we can't, after the contracts are settled, blame everybody from, Governor Cuomo to the state Senate and the Assembly. I don't know, they're probably blaming the Russians soon. The reality is, this is a homegrown problem. Right? It's truth. It's a homegrown problem, and it's
and
not
they
everybody
knew
else's
it was
fault.
coming. They knew
Absolutely.
it was coming because they've been part of that budget, not scam, but budget game for years already. The entire family. I'm sorry to say, but it's true.
And the union leaders, of our city, our firefighters unions and our police unions and DPW unions, we're tired of being the ones blamed.
Right.
Blamed every year. It's our fault. Because we, have a union and have a contract, and we get paid
and you get raises.
a wage. Right. I mean, that's the way the world works. But what we have to do is we have a growing city. We got to grow the fisc of the city. We need, if we're going to get developers to come into our city, they got to provide. You can't just push the black people out and put white people in there. You got to bring some money with you. So at least if we were going to have some gentrification, there'd be some financial gentrification as well. What happens is we're just pushing out all the minorities and the impoverished people, bringing in Brooklynites. And we're still not getting the funding we need to send our kids to school, to have proper housing and proper job opportunities.
And that's why we have so many homeless.
We got a caller on the. Okay, hung up. Okay, call whoever that was. Call back, please. Go ahead.
Jack Toon said Sandy.
Oh.
Hi, Jack Toon.
I'm sorry.
Oh, they hung up?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well,
Hi, Susie. I'm sorry, my sister.
Are y'all up to date on your contract, or are y'all behind?
We are. All of the labor contracts in the city of Yonkers have basically been negotiated. Now it looks like they want to break them. So we'll see where we are. We just got the budget on Friday. We'll take a close look at that budget.
Now, can they actually break the contract?
No, they can't break the contract. What they can do is lay people off, and that seems like what their plan is. The plan should have occurred 2 or 3 years ago to ensure that there was enough revenues for all of the labor contracts.
You have Justin Caparelli says cuts in the Department of Public Works as well as police.
Well,
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
Jack Toon said Damon's bow tie game is always on point.
Well, thank you, brother Jack.
And,
thank you, man.
Couple other people just tuned in. Pat English from Long Island. David Randolph Holder, Brenda L. Crump, Oscar Davis, Joy Bailey Horton, Valletta Thompson, Glenn P. Putler, Rick Shambly, and I think I got
Susan Rivera. That's my sister.
Oh, hey.
What's happening, Susan?
I think I got everybody. Yeah, that's everybody new. Go ahead.
No, it's Is the mayor planning for a third? What is it? Third term?
Is he trying to break his?
Yeah. Are they
term limits?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Go ahead. Talk about it, Barry.
There's been speculation to that effect. He continues. He's term limited at the current time, but he continues to have fundraisers and raise money. But to tell you the truth, this year's budget might be the deciding factor. It seems like it's horrific. The people in the finance department tell us it's for real. We hear budget problems every year, but they say, really, we mean it this time. There is no money. So I guess we'll see how it all pans out over the next several weeks. The city's budget is due June 1st, so there's about 6 weeks to make, an assessment of that budget, where the revenue is going to come from. If there's a shortfall, there could be massive cuts, and those cuts are. It's not just bad for the police officers that are laid off, or firefighters, or DPW workers, or teachers. It's bad for the people that use those services.
Absolutely.
And unfortunately, too many of these politicians think, politics and the role of government officials is to take care of their friends and to provide jobs for everybody. The job of government is to provide services. Services are, police services keep us safe. Fire services keep us safe. Sanitation services to keep us healthy. And schools to educate our children and keep them safe. Those are the number one priorities of any government. And unfortunately, they want to just push them to the wayside and not take care of it and just blame everybody else. But it's our kids and our residents that will suffer. And to be honest with you, the people on the west side of the city will suffer most, because it's generally the people who are impoverished that require the most services, whether it's educational services or it's governmental services. There's not too many fires up in Crestwood. There's not too many calls for police assistance on the east side of the city. But on the west side of the city, that's where our fires are. That's where people die in fires.
Yeah, but they don't vote, so they don't matter.
Well, people got to start voting.
No, absolutely.
It's really unfortunate, a city like Yonkers, that we've cut our Board of Education. Can you imagine schools with no sports programs? Some kids want to go to school. That might be the one thing that gets them to go to school, because they like playing basketball, or they like playing music or dancing or whatever it is.
Yeah.
You have to. It can't just be the basic educational things. Education is supposed to round somebody out, and you have to give them things that they wanna do. I used to say, if I gave my kids liver, potatoes, and string beans, if I didn't promise them an apple pie afterwards, they're not going to eat the good stuff. Right? Same thing with school. You got to give them some good things, and they're not even getting the basic services. There's no social workers. There's not enough counselors. There's nothing in our schools, and it's unfortunate, because I personally think if our schools were 80% white, that wouldn't be allowed to happen. But the fact of the matter is, they're 80% minority, and it's allowed to happen. I think it's horrific that we don't have a much stronger voice for our minority community in the city of Yonkers. Where is everybody? They cut these schools. Where are our African American leaders? Where are our Hispanic leaders? They're nowhere to be seen.
Where are they? Well, for real, I was the only one that had a voice. I'm not gonna.
Only one I know is Reverend Norman.
Reverend Norman's my buddy.
Yeah, that's all I know is Reverend Norman. Before that, you had
everybody's
Gail,
in the mayor's
Baxter,
pocket.
Which Gail is did her job. She's a little older.
Karen
Edmondson did a lot of good work in the community, but you can't do it by yourself.
You need an army. You need an army of leaders to make sure. When the Board of Education is having a meeting, we got to get people to the Board of Education meeting.
Right.
Jack
Toomey get them out to vote.
Jack Toomey said, when Yonkers gets the cold, black folks get the flu. So I just wanted to say, it sounds a lot, again, like Mount Vernon. One of the conversations I was having is they benefit on the uninformed and misinformed of the minority community. You understand what I'm saying? And because of that, they don't know what's going on, and then they don't vote. You know what I'm saying? And they don't pay that side no attention. And that's one of the fights I'm having in Mount Vernon all the time.
Well, one of the problems is people are busy nowadays.
Absolutely.
You got a lot of single moms out there, single parent families, working 1 or 2 jobs, just struggling trying to get food on the table and maybe keep the kids out of trouble.
Right.
And that's why you need leaders. That's why you need somebody in the community that's going to get people out to vote. That's going to get them to a meeting and tell them how important it is to be involved, because the greasy, what do they say? The
squeaky wheel gets the
oil. You got to make some noise.
Yeah.
Damon, we got to be woke. We got to keep an eye on Yonkers, because some of the layoffs are DPW, and that's friends and family right there. First in, first out.
Right.
We need to take a look at that.
Yeah, but that's why, I'm here to talk about this racial equity lens.
Right.
Can I speak about that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Wait. Bring Tasha in.
She here?
Yeah.
She's here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, look at this. She comes bearing gifts.
Wait.
Hey, you're a few gifts short.
Hey, Tasha. Sit in the hot seat.
This time. Sit over here. Hi. Sit here and I'll just bring the chair over.
Oh,
Good.
Oh, okay.
Good. Okay.
Just slide down a little, Barry.
Slide to the left.
There you go.
Slide to the
There
left.
you go.
Crisscross.
Go left.
Lorraine, slide down just a little.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, everyone.
And everybody,
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
and everybody's in the picture, and y'all can share the mic. There we go.
Got it. Wait, I need my recipe cup. My people out there gave me.
Okay. So, Sandy, you were starting to say.
Yes, we're here today to talk about something.
Well, now you're gonna have to move the mic when you talk. So yeah.
Tasha and Sandy are here to talk about something, and it's everything that we're talking about tonight. You know, unless we have an understanding that we have to be intentional and deliberate if we want outcomes to be fair, because business as usual will be everything we're talking about, right? And Brian, you've said a million times, disproportionately these kids are going to be impacted, kids of color, disproportionately poor communities, and we know that that's true. So we're social workers, and we're here representing social workers who are really taking the lead in the passage of a racial equity assessment in legislation, real bill, a New York State real bill. And it says that before you make a decision or you pass a policy, it should go through a racial equity impact process, the way you do a fiscal impact process, the way you do environmental impact process. And before you make a decision, a policy decision, you have to see who is going to benefit and who is going to hurt, and that has to be taken into consideration when you make the decision. And Assemblyman Sepulveda from the Bronx has put forward an assembly bill,
Right there.
and we're collecting signatures and sponsors and getting assembly people to become sponsors. We're long distance runners. We understand this is not going to happen, in June. It's not going to happen in December. But as we move in this movement, people are becoming educated that you need to be deliberate and intentional to keep everybody healthy and engaged, and the outcomes. If you want fair outcomes, it just isn't going to happen with business as usual for everything we've been talking about.
Exactly. So,
In the mic. Oh, you got it.
So to Brian's point earlier, when he was saying who was
Barry.
impacted.
Barry.
Everybody calls me Brian.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Barry.
I'm sorry.
I apologize, Barry. But to the point that you made, that certain communities get impacted in a disparate
Disproportionate way.
disproportional way, and communities of color usually are on the losing end of that equation. So we know that this is a fact. We know this happens in healthcare. We know this happens with service provision. We know this happens with criminal justice. We know it happens in literally every system that we are a part of. So if you're able to take a look at any policy and every policy that comes out of committee before the vote and have an assessment of how this is going to impact communities based on race before passage, then we can at least say, okay, this is the data that shows that we looked at it, and whether or not it passes, because it could still pass, right? But we didn't pass it, and this was able to affect communities of color in a positive way. Or we did pass it, even with this assessment saying that this would be a negative impact, and now we could say this proves our point, that this is now affecting communities of color in a negative way, just like the assessment said.
Right.
And we as community people would say, okay, well, it went through this assessment, you passed it anyway, now what do you have to say to your constituents?
But even more importantly, the assessment will point to how it needs to be tweaked. How do we pass policy and take actions that do no harm, or do as little harm as possible? Because we believe that we're well-intended people, and all these legislations, everything we pass, we intend that everybody's going to be treated fairly, but we know that everybody's not treated fairly. And that's in every system, bar none. So this is a bold initiative by Sepulveda, who is in the Assembly right now, but by April 24th, he'll be in the Senate.
The Senate.
Yeah.
And we've been going and speaking to Assembly people, and it's not just myself and Tasha, but there's a whole army of social workers and other professionals working to make this happen. And we know we have your support here, But it's something for you to know about and to think about.
I would just encourage you. You said you weren't going to have it done by June or December. This is an election year. there's no better time. Your goal
we're
should be to
pushing
get
now.
it done.
Right.
No, we
before the end
want
of
we want to
legislative
get it
session.
done.
Yeah.
But there are people who don't believe that we should be doing these assessments. That universal decision making should help everybody. But we understand that when you say, in other words, equality is not going to get us to equity, right? If everybody should be treated equally, well, this
same
is what we
across the
have.
board, yeah.
This is what we have now.
Right. And even with that model of trying to do things universally, like everybody gets this amount or whatever the case may be, people of in lower income communities and people of color still are affected more negatively, even with that equal.
Right.
Because equal is not equitable. So someone gave the example of, okay, so we're going to give everyone a certain amount of garbage cans, right? So you have Ardsley that has the same amount of Mount Vernon, but Ardsley doesn't have the same population of Mount Vernon. So Ardsley doesn't need 5, where Mount Vernon might need more than 5. Right? Yeah. So you have Ardsley that has more than they need, and Mount Vernon doesn't have enough.
Right.
So it can't be just equal across the board. It has to be equitable, where you look at what the situations are in a case-by-case basis and make sure that it's not going to affect people in a negative way. Mm-hmm. And the reason why we're looking at it in legislation is because there's been so much legislation that has hurt communities of color. Like, look at mass incarceration. Look at the Rockefeller, and let's just talk about New York. Look at the Rockefeller drug laws that, incarcerated people, that is now affecting generations of people who have been incarcerated because the drug laws were so discriminatory. Policing is so discriminatory. Right. So if we can just look at, okay, how is this going to impact communities of color before it gets passed, and have the data to show that we at least took a look, and then we can measure ourselves from there.
Like look at the cocaine crack epidemic and look at the opioid. Right? You see how policy, you see how culture and mindset makes a difference. Why shouldn't all people who are suffering with addiction be treated by a doctor, and the general public having antidotes? Why aren't all people of who are engaged in addiction be treated with the same dignity and humanity? And so that's what we would look at. How are these laws disproportionately impacting certain people, and how is the absence of this law benefiting certain people? And so it isn't fair. We want everybody to be treated the same way the people in the opioid epidemic are being treated. And we have people in jail that should be retroactive. All those people there who were there for nonviolent offenses, who were caught with possession, they should be getting the same treatment that the people at the opioids, right? You go to a doctor, and right? Yeah. But that's not true because of the racial lens.
The mayor's brother would have got off with that because he got caught with what? With marijuana?
That's ridiculous.
Marijuana is a great example. So Cynthia Nixon said that, people of color are criminals for marijuana use, where white people use it with impunity, and don't have the same outcomes by law enforcement. Same exact marijuana use, if not more. So that's just another example of really, really unfair treatment based on race.
Right, and the way we get to this is by getting the data and saying we want to see the outcomes disaggregated by race. Because you want to see who is getting the arrested for the marijuana and who isn't, right? And it's absurd to think that people of color use marijuana more than white people. It's just not true, right? So we have to learn to look at data and to ask, please break it down by race so that we can see who's most impacted and to work for equity. And I just want to say that today, the New York Times, did you see the magazine article?
No, I did not.
That black women and black babies in the first year of life of the babies has a high incidence of death, infant mortality and maternal death. Twice that of white, due to the mother's, the lifetime stress of living with discrimination in all of the systems. In the healthcare system, in the education system, in the criminal justice system, the food, employment, on and on and on. That the microaggressions, that the stress of living in a body of color, okay, with the cortisol levels surging, with every time you're offended, with all these discrimination, actually is wearing out the woman's body and the womb. And these children are being born at risk. This has nothing to do with class, education, professional, working. It has to do with race. This is a national disgrace And you want to talk about reparations? When we have no disproportionality in the deaths of children, like you cannot determine which child is going to be a higher risk and which child is not. When we reach that point, we will have reached reparations because the mother's body is responding to all of these systems throughout all of her life. Do you know what I'm saying? So
I read a similar article where it said because of all the things people in the minority communities face, they actually suffer from worse PTSD than people that have gone off to war.
The combat, right?
Yeah,
Because
because you figure you go to Iraq or whatever, you go for your 18-month term or whatever, whatever your tour is, you come home.
Yeah.
You're dealing with this every day, every day
It's
for
called
years
persistent
and years,
traumatic
and then there's no break. You know what I'm saying? So, and then it says the psychological impact on that
That's
is
what we're
not being
talking
looked
about.
at, and it leads to so many of the things you named and way more.
That's what we're talking about. And until we begin to look at the impact that these decisions that we make about these systems and start changing the way the system responds, I mean, just look at police. I mean, it would break your heart when you tell a young person, know your rights. When you meet a police, do this and do that, as if there's something that we can do, right? A program that we can come up with to protect a child. When it's not, that's not what the problem is. The problem is policing, right? Now this, oh God, our president just said you can't get any federal assistance unless you have a job. Can you imagine that? As if job discrimination doesn't even exist.
It's criminalizing poverty and dehumanizing people's experience. So I don't even like to use the term homeless anymore, right? I just say people experiencing homelessness. Because once you start putting a title on someone and making them the other, it dehumanizes them. But if you say, like, okay, perfect example. I'm bloated. Like, let's just say I'm bloated right now. I don't want you guys to walk around and say, oh, the bloateds are here. You know, it's just something that I'm experiencing. It's not who I am.
Well, and we
okay.
We learn.
Right.
Like, you don't want to say, oh, I'm homeless, you know, and just take away my identity as a person, as a human. You know, and for this president to say, oh, you don't get federal funding unless you have a job, when
There are no jobs.
when we're oh God, I don't even want to talk about unions, but you know, we need more union labor, we need more jobs, we need to rebuild the middle class. My daughter right now has a good paying job, but they won't pay for her health care because that's the new, right? You can get a job, but you have to pay for your own health care because we don't have the benefit of collective bargaining, you know, in the private sector. So anyhow, you know, to say, oh, some people don't have a job so they don't deserve whatever is deemed deserving, you know, because everyone pays in, right? Don't we all pay taxes at some level or not? So it's just,
But
it's
you know,
just,
Tasha,
it's inhumane.
Another myth is that people who receive assistance are unemployed. They're underemployed. There's a huge percentage, right?
That are working and still.
They still can't make ends meet.
We got a couple of comments real quick. Jack Tui said, "Go get him, Tasha." Eddie Johnson said they send white people to rehab and black folks to jail.
That's right.
And Joshua
has a comment.
Yes, that I'm going to read now. That's not what he said. I'm assuming, as in Trump.
Trump, yeah.
All he did was enforce Welfare Reform Act signed into law by Bill Clinton,
which was a bad law. It was a bad. It's
one of a number of bad laws that he signed into.
Bad, Joshua.
But that mentality is being heightened right now.
Well, that's why I wanted. That's why I wanted to read it too, because I do want to, discuss it from all angles. So you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And then give us an opportunity to speak on that. And
absolutely.
I appreciate you listening, Joshua.
Thank you, Joshua. Thank you for that comment. And to say all he did is enforce Welfare Reform Act, I mean, the reason that's a bad act is because, again, you're criminalizing people who are experiencing a lower income. Because that doesn't, you don't have to live there. You don't have to be there your entire life. There are ups and downs that people experience with employment. But the Welfare Reform Act says, okay, well, you have to pay for your benefits. You have to work in order to get these benefits. And what people are experiencing now, even people who are working, now these are married people, 2 incomes working, that for some reason are not housed right now. Most of their income is going to the social service department that's supposed to be helping them find housing.
Yeah.
But they don't have enough money to get housing because they're paying into the system.
That's right.
It's just like a really vicious cycle, and it's born out of this premise that people are not deserving of assistance,
Right.
that they're lazy, that you like even people who are incarcerated have to pay restitution, and have to pay. They have to pay while they're in prison, then they have to pay when they get out of prison.
On and on.
Well, they Laura Case, she was a homelessness advocate. She was on the show a few times and wrote a few articles for Black Westchester, and she educated us to the growing number of working homeless.
Yes,
And it's something I had never, something I
44%
honestly
homeless
had never heard.
people
Like
experiencing
people who
homelessness.
they work
That's
9 to
not
5.
working.
Wow.
They work 9 to 5. Their
44%.
kids go to school every day, but they don't have a home. They're in shelters or wherever. But and then it's like you got people saying, "Well, I don't want to go to that shelter because then it's too far away from the job, so they can't get back." You know what I'm saying?
They
Like,
can't afford to work.
yeah, and they don't have transportation.
Children.
So it's like,
And then they're trying to cut food stamps.
right.
It's really it's generations of failed policy in this country.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
it's not fair to just
From
blame
both
Republicans.
Right,
Both
right.
parties.
Absolutely.
That's right.
We've had periods of time when the Democrats have had full control.
Right,
and,
right.
and nothing better. And you can
Right.
say that about
Absolutely.
poverty, about unions, about
Absolutely.
just society. in
Right,
general.
right.
The
Racism,
Democrats have let us down just as much
Absolutely.
as the
Absolutely.
That's right.
That's
We
why
should
he said
hold-
Bill Clinton.
Thank you.
Yeah.
As a Republican, I thank you.
Well, the whole
Hold
two-party,
politicians accountable.
the whole two-party system. I
Yeah.
mean, that's
And
why we need
hopefully
more.
people
Yeah.
are not held accountable. I
Right.
mean, people just get reelected,
He's
whether it's in
absolutely
Congress, in the Senate,
And
in
they
the city
keep
council,
it, yeah.
year after year after year,
Right.
because people are not paying attention.
We're not even
And we
having-
should pay attention, and that's why it's great that you're proposing this legislation.
Right.
That even if it doesn't pass, you're raising awareness.
Exactly.
You're getting information out there. Maybe someone will put it in their pocket and remind to
Right.
pull it out once in a while.
But
Exactly.
do you notice in politics we don't even talk about homelessness anymore. We don't talk about poverty anymore. There is nobody on the landscape addressing this. It's just about immorality, right, and criminality and money laundering. We're completely lost.
Well,
Especially-
out of sight, out of mind.
well,
Barry
it's-
was just
But it's in our sight.
But
Barry was
Like we
talking
see it
about
every day.
gentrification earlier, and a lot of the folks from the waterfront area have been are homeless now because of gentrification, because they're building these huge apartment complexes for rich folks,
And they can't get a job.
and they can't get a
There's
job.
no jobs, and
Right.
we've been educating our children wrong for many years. Everybody can't go to college. I'm sorry. Everybody can't be a doctor or a pharmacist or an engineer. We have to have people learn skills to
Mechanics.
earn a
and
living.
trades, right.
That's
In housekeeping and painting and
That's
every auto mechanics and auto
Right,
body.
Yeah.
Like we have our schools. We're gonna get everybody through high school, and we're gonna put them into college, and they're gonna borrow a ton
Everybody's-
of money.
everybody's
and
not
never,
co-
and never
in
get out of
debt.
school, and then not get a job.
Right,
And you're
right.
saddled with the debt. So it's horrible. It's horrific, and a lot of these policies are from corporate
Failing.
America.
Right.
You have people, big lobby, big money on both sides are pushing
But you see,
pushing these policies.
Imagine if in Yonkers they say, no, you can't take over that land and you can't build that building unless we go through this racial impact and ask what will happen to the people who are there and the impact. But then they go through the next step of what will it cost the city of Yonkers to have homelessness now? What will it cost for the children now have to be put into foster care and congregate care because their parents can no longer provide housing, not because of themselves, but because of what's happening? And do you realize that when you put a child in Children's Village or Andrus, we're paying $300 a day per child? That's like $100,000 a year per child. And the reason why that child will be there very often is because they don't have home, right? They don't have a place to live. And just think about what that family could have done if they got the $100,000.
Right.
Oftentimes they go into Damon's Field afterwards, and then we go in penitentiaries or jails,
And that's a-
and
it's
it's
a
over
setup.
$100,000 a year.
That's
If
right.
we spend the
Setup.
money up front with some after-school programs, some job training programs, we may not have these legacy costs of having a failed system for our youth.
That's right.
Absolutely.
We got a couple of comments from from the audience.
A lot of comments. These are good.
Max Maxwell said, the majority of social services is not people of color.
That's nationally, right?
Louise said, and houses homelessness. I lived in a one-bedroom with my husband and child for 4 years, but in a house, not ours. Very stressful.
Right.
Joshua wanted to piggyback off what he said before and said, the Welfare Reform Act was supposed to create jobs and education.
Lies.
Title 9, 336C of the New York State Social Service Law.
Right.
The County of Westchester was violating the law. This is why the reason almost 40% of the welfare cases in the county were, I think that's Mount Vernon residents.
Well, we have to research that.
Jack Toomey said, churches should take care of homeless. Every church should have a shelter.
They need more resources.
Louise said again, yes. Plumbers and tow truck services live in $1 million homes. Talking about, some of the people ain't go to college.
We need affordable housing.
I'm just saying this.
No, I'm sorry.
Okay. And Jack said, how come we never talk about the history and how we arrived at this point?
That's brilliant,
David,
Jack.
what do you think about that?
Say it again.
How come we never talk about the history and how we arrived at this
point?
point?
And welcome to the show.
Well, we
Vaughn
always
Lee.
talk about it. I mean, nobody's listening. That's why the damn thing keep happening again. We always talk about it. It's nothing new. I mean,
he said nobody.
Can I welcome one more person?
Nobody listening. Nobody listening.
One more time, I want to welcome somebody else who doesn't tune in a lot. Vaughn Lee, who for the old school hip hop heads would know as DJ Cool V. Biz Markie is DJ.
All right,
is
what's
tuned
happening,
in.
Vaughn?
Want to just shout him out.
All right, that's what's happening. No, I mean, we always talk about it. We always talk about the cause, but we always see the effect. And, I mean, sooner or later, Armageddon, man. I don't understand how we just don't get it, and especially black communities. We don't get it. We don't get it. And we allow it to just fester, and then, when you come outside and you notice that your community is just not advancing like the other communities after a while, and then you see it like around 15 years old, then you become 30. And shit still look the same, right? Then you're 40, and shit still look the same. Like after a while, you say, well, what? And then you go to other communities and nice stuff here and everything, and it doesn't click. I'm like, when does it click that something is wrong? Like, when does it click that we need proper economic development? We need a proper educational system. We need to take in, we need that base. We need to start teaching young children to buy real estate. Look at Harlem. Look at Harlem. Them brownstones, I remember in $1. $1. Like people could have went and bought a whole block for $20, right? And other people than the people that lived there was buying it up. Now the same brownstone gutted out is over $2, $3, $4 million.
Oh yeah,
right.
Manhattan, no more land.
Right. We have to teach our children about wealth.
Absolutely.
Right. We have to teach our children about wealth. We have to change the mindset in how we teach our children, because we teach our children to go to school, right, get good grades, right, get college degree, and go work for somebody else. Right? But we don't teach our children to do all these things, but develop their own businesses, get real estate, right? Get wealth, and then change your communities like that. We have to start. I mean, we have to start doing that. We have to start having our people. We have to start investing in our community. I said a couple of shows ago, I said, look, Mount Vernon is the Wakanda, and our leaders are selling off our vibranium. And that's the way it is, right? We have to have that mindset.
Giving it away.
Right, they're giving it away.
Not even selling it, giving it away.
And that's the real estate.
You got to look at Yonkers, too.
you know, I sat at the Democratic breakfast. I think there was only one black developer there. Wow. Right? One black developer. So, you know, you have a city with 70% black and no black developers.
And who's on the planning committee? How many of us are there?
Yeah, well, they all look like us, but the understanding of what I'm saying is we're not even looking to bring in black developers, right? We're not even looking to do things like that. All the people that have companies that live in the city, you know, I mean, employ them, subcontract those people, give jobs to people in the city. You know, I drive by, I don't see none of our young kids working on these projects.
Right.
You know, I don't see that.
I saw the fight. Now I have to. Before Andre became councilman, I worked with him, you know, teaching the OSHA classes and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I went to several meetings with him and sometimes Lyndon with the developers where, you know, he was going to protest outside their establishments or whatever if they hadn't hired a certain amount of people.
It was Reverend Richardson's building.
Right.
I'll tell it.
That wasn't the only one, though. I'm saying I sat through a couple of them. But that specifically was the building we were talking about. And they gave him all the, we're going to do this and we're going to do that and we're going to do this. And when he graduated, and they were going to deal with him because he actually was a contractor and was teaching the kids the skills they needed. So I'm not just sending people to you. I'm sending people that are qualified.
Right.
And including your son who worked on one of the buildings. And then they had so many problems halfway through it. They got rid of reasons to get rid of the guys. The guys showed up for work. There was no work for them. It was just a whole bunch of. But I'm saying I watched the battle that one man had to try to change that, and we need more than one person. Right. You know what I'm saying? We need, you know, one person can't do it by themselves, exactly. and anything. And going back to Brenda Crump shared with us an article in the Atlantic, and it deals with our 20 years later since welfare reform.
Joshua could click on that.
Right. America's poorest are still dealing with the consequences of the legislation that Bill Clinton signed into law 2 decades ago today.
That was not good law.
This was
it's horrible law.
Yeah, and it says, you know, as he still defends this welfare reform bill that he signed April 22nd, 1966, 20 years ago, as one of his greatest accomplishments of his presidency. And it goes on to talk about all the things that it did and everything. So this is for Joshua and anybody else.
Yeah, please, Joshua. Check that out.
Please read that article. It's you know.
No, I think you know, having conversation with Joshua, I think Joshua is very versed on a lot of issues, especially dealing with the homeless.
Right.
Because he enlightened me on the condition of Mount Vernon, and having and just having of all people that are on social services, 30% of them are in Mount Vernon, or Westchester County.
That's a disparity.
And it absolutely is. And the city's only 4x4 square miles. Like, where the hell are you putting all these people? And then you wonder why the school system is overburdened. And you wonder why, right, the service. But they don't get the same. But see, they don't get the dollars. Like we talked about it before. Right. Mount Vernon has all these needy people, but they don't get the dollars from the county or from the state. Right. You know, to subsidize what they have here.
Well, I think
this is ridiculous.
A lot of our real estate laws are fundamentally causing some of these problems. Mm-hmm. You look at Mount Vernon, you look at Yonkers, and a lot of the areas that are very economically depressed. Right. The tax laws actually encourage people to continue to leave the area blighted. Mm-hmm. You know, you own a $300,000 house, and you're going to pay taxes, real estate taxes, based upon the market value, whether they get assessed or don't get assessed. Right. If you own a commercial property, they don't do it by the market value. They do it by what's called the net operating income valuation. Mm-hmm. So basically, if you have a building that's abandoned and it's not bringing any income in, your taxes are negligible. So therefore, developers and landowners are allowed to mothball property for generations, and until they see it's ready, economically feasible for them to invest in the meantime, we have no housing for people. We have no jobs for development. I think we should do full market valuation taxation on all properties.
Yes.
And if you own a property in a place like Yonkers or Mount Vernon, guess what? You're going to pay the taxes.
have to pay.
If you're not investing in that property, then sell it to somebody who's willing to invest,
That's right.
create
Right.
jobs, create
Good.
a market. This is a problem. Almost all of our laws have been controlled for generations by the people that have, to the detriment of the people that don't have, no matter what color
Absolutely.
you are.
I was trying to let him finish his thought. I didn't want to.
No, go ahead, Tasha.
No, go ahead, Tasha.
Tasha gets excited, man.
I do get excited because this is not Republican or Democrat problem. This is a lack of accountability issue for both parties. So when I see like comments from people who like the Democrats did this, the Republicans did that, it's both. It's both. And it is because we haven't come up with creative solutions as much as we should. Because I'm not faulting that our representatives are all wrong or all bad, because that's just not the case. But there is an opportunity to come up with more creative solutions. There is an opportunity to be bold, more bold, in like really addressing some of these issues that are hurting the people that don't have, and maintaining a status quo of the people who do. We need more people to come from lower income to middle income, period. We need more people from middle income to be able to realize a higher income. That's what we need to have happen.
And that's the value of unions.
Thank you.
Unions have been the pathway for generations for people to get from a low economic scale to middle class.
Right.
That's so many people that were union people could only get their kids to college because there was union benefits.
That's right.
They only got their kids' teeth fixed because they had union benefits. And without unions, you don't have those benefits, and you lack a couple of steps on the ladder for achievement and success in this country. And unions provide that, and it's unfortunate. I take it very personally.
That's right.
As a very proud union person.
That's right.
When unions are attacked, and unfortunately, they're attacked almost equally by Democrats and Republicans.
Absolutely.
Yes.
But, Barry, let me ask you a question. You know, why do I... Now, you're the only, like, first responder union president that speaks on unions as a whole, like the whole labor movement. But when I hear or I talk to, like, police union presidents or correction union president, it's like they don't see themselves part of the entire labor movement, you know, and they make decisions that's contradictory to what labor is all about, like supporting Astorino, you know, when he, you know, or supporting Trump, you know what I'm saying? And you're like, wait a minute, these guys want to take away collective bargaining, right? They want to take away this and that, and you still support them. Why is that? Why is that? Why can't the first responder unions, all of them, really be on the same page with the labor movement that's going on?
It's a good question.
You know what I'm saying? Because I'd be like, yo, dude, why are you supporting this? This guy just said he's going to take away.
Me up. That's not
I do agree with the unions. Earlier on, I worked for Coca-Cola in Long Island, and we were the Teamsters. And when it came time to, you know, buy a new car, you know, my credit was less than desirable. But the guy got on the phone and he talked to another dude, and he was like, "Yo, no, he's a Teamster. He's one of us. He works for Coke." Not only did I get the car, but I got it for better than what my credit should have dictated my interest rate be. You know what I'm saying? Because the one guy, he was like, "Oh, he's one of us," you know.
And don't say that too loud. I mean, like, look, they go to them crooked unions.
No, but I'm just saying though, it was like it afforded me. That was my quality of life. You know what I'm saying? Because I should have been paying a ridiculous interest, which would have taken away from my household. You know what I'm saying? So it did help me in a lot of ways. You know, they did stand up. They failed a few things, but they stood up. They for a lot of us. So.
You know, Barry, I want to go back to something you just said. It was a brilliant thing about the property and going through the assessment and saying you have to pay your taxes or sell.
Yes.
But even that's a great idea, but you still have to put that through a racial equity lens, because let's say it's low property value. who's going to buy it up unless you do something intentionally and deliberate to be sure that people from the residents, the community of Mount Vernon, collectively through some assistance, be able to buy that property. So even no matter what idea we have, if we don't say we have to look for equity, we have to acknowledge that years and years and years of discrimination and barriers will always put
By
people
law.
by law, have always put people of color at a disadvantage and white people at more of an advantage. So if we don't do something about that. So every idea you have that's brilliant, at the end we have to say, well, show me where's the outcome? Who's going to benefit from this? And we have to make sure that everybody benefits from this. I like all of your ideas.
And we're Democrats.
So am I. That doesn't mean Democrats aren't, the perfect saints either.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
She's the only one.
She's the only one.
No, but I think it's healthy and I think it's patriotic to, talk about what could be improved within the parties.
Yep.
I think that is
That's why I don't give
patriotic.
up. That's why I
Right.
don't give up.
Exactly. Whatever party you belong to, Working Families Party, Democratic Party, Republican Party, it is healthy to have political discourse about what is working and what can be improved.
Right. And I'll just say, as an anti-racist, this has nothing to do with party. This has to do with the formation of our country, the systems that we live in, and it doesn't matter what party. Structural racism acts the same in every institution.
Right.
It doesn't care about politics. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The outcomes are always the same. And I think that's why many people of color don't vote. Because if it's a Republican or Democrat, things don't change.
Right. If people say that it's not the same. And now,
That's a reality,
I had this conversation on the Bob Marone show. Richard Thomas represented hope to a whole group of people who had all but lost hope.
That's right.
We and I worked on the campaign. We registered a lot of people who had never voted, were first-time voters, figured their vote doesn't count, whatever. They voted for this hope. One of the worst things to do is to give someone who doesn't have hope, and you know what I'm saying, and then
Yeah.
and then don't live up to it. Right, because it's what because now what you're going to happen, and I hope it's not the whole spectrum of people, but there's going to be a large group of those people who say, "See, I took a chance,
Right.
I did what you said," and it's still like I said, there's no, it doesn't change. It doesn't matter who's in there. You know what I'm saying? And they still say the same thing.
Right, because it's about
because
racism.
because they bought into this. He was hope. You know what I'm saying? He represented hope for a lot of people. And then there was a lot of older people that were running in office that we needed, felt they need to get rid of. And they saw this guy as one of them, a millennial. You know what I'm saying? So they, and that's just one example, and that's Mount Vernon. But that's across the spectrum. You know what I'm saying? When you give these people hope and then you don't deliver on it,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? Then you got a lot of people that is never going to vote again.
Well, you can't lose hope. That's the one
Right,
thing.
right.
It's like riding a bike.
Yeah.
You're going to fall off the bike. Get right back up.
Right.
Just because you have one bad experience with one elected official or not, that doesn't mean the next person that's going to come along doesn't have great ideas.
Right.
That's actually going to try to get it done. And if you're not happy with somebody that's in elected office, then get rid of them.
Right.
Mobilize. Get people educated, get them registered, and get them out to vote.
Right.
That's the
Right.
only way things are going to change
Right.
through the electoral process.
So what would happen if we had a candidate that said, we understand that certain communities have been left out of the game, and we want to be sure that there's a living wage for everybody, and that affordable housing is, a part of every city planning, right? What happens if people started addressing the issues that impact the lives of the people who are bottom stuck? That would be something to get
Well,
out of bed and vote for.
But even just the way our electoral system is now, the way, the big money interests are not going to let that person's voice be heard. They're going to be shot down by big money.
Yep.
So one of the things I think that's going to be critical is campaign finance reform
Absolutely.
and public financing of campaigns.
That's
So
right.
we don't have the big corporations,
Absolutely.
the big lobbyists, and the
Right.
big money control the dialogue and control who the candidates are.
Yeah.
We have political parties and committees in the state of New York and locally here in Westchester that are corrupt. That they make the determination who's running for office.
Right.
But guess what? The only thing that they can do is control maybe 20 or 30 people.
They
but
can't
the
control
people
all of us.
can go out there and get the signatures.
That's
Right.
right.
That's
and
right.
run somebody, an alternative
Right.
to who the party bosses are putting
Absolutely.
that are all controlled, whether you're Democrat or Republican, they're all controlled by the same people.
That's right.
And I want to
I
say,
really like that.
and I want to say, Sandy, again, not to make this about Richard Thomas, but working along his campaign, he promised people those kind of things that they were not hearing. You know what I'm saying? He attacked those things that he was going to represent that, and he was going to do that. and he did not. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, again, that's why a lot of people like, you know, I may not vote again. Like, now you got to go back to those people now. They've been beaten before. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? They've been beat down.
And say, try again, right.
And you got to kind of build them back up again.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like, wait, you're the one that got me to vote for that guy. Right. You know what I'm saying?
The thing that I like to tell people, AJ, is like, I understand because a lot of people are disenfranchised. They're like, my vote doesn't matter.
Right.
In the presidential election, not as much, but it's still, you know, you should vote. But locally, it matters. People are winning and losing by like 3 votes. You know, and if you don't think that your vote matters and you don't want to get into politics, you better believe your landlord is in it. Your landlord is voting. Your boss is voting. Everyone that is part of your impacting your life is part of the political process.
Well, your landlord is buying the politicians.
Or that.
And that's what we need to start doing. And no, I mean, look. Dr. Claude Anderson, who is the author of Powernomics, and he gives the five steps to wealth, and wealth building in your community. The second step is politics. The first step is buying real estate, is land. Yeah. The second step is politics, and he says if you can't buy them, rent them. Yeah.
Woo!
You can't buy the politicians. You rent them. So they would.
This is the people. This is not corporations.
This is the people. This is the people buying the politicians. And look, and I understand. Politics, you have to have money, right? If you don't have money in politics, you're not going to go very far, right? Even if you're a candidate, you could have the best ideas in the world, but if you don't have no money, they will stop you at signature time and spend your little $4,000 right on legal fees, right? They'll stop you. So money is a reality,
absolutely,
right? In politics, we could say do all the campaign legislation and all that, but guess what? Before you get that, you got to buy the politicians to actually pass the legislation.
But you know, I think
you know what I'm saying?
The problem is we have such low voter turnout.
Right.
Have, you know, when you talk about Mayor Thomas, what was the percentage of vote in Mount Vernon? 20%, 24%?
It was less than 30%.
It was less than 30%.
You know, we had a mayor election in Yonkers not too long ago. It was in the teens.
Right.
So when 85% of the people that are registered to vote, not even eligible to vote, because it's probably half of who is eligible to vote. When 80% of the population that is registered to vote do not show up, that's the problem. It's about motivating, giving people.
But that's by design. That's not by mistake.
Yeah.
Because see, new voters means that the incumbent might lose.
Yeah, because they don't.
Because the incumbent, they want that same block of voters to come out all the time, right? You know, even in Mount Vernon, I've noticed it's just a certain block of people, and they'll come out and vote.
The prime voters.
That's right. Richie won because it was an influx. It was actually an influx of new voters who didn't go with the oldest established quo. So I mean, the party, the system, status quo. They talk about all that, go out there, register new votes and everything, but they don't want new voters. I mean, because new voters is a threat to the status quo. In the
case in point, we've seen that
on both parties
on the county executive race. If it stayed, that was the secret. If it had been a small turnout, Astorino was going to win.
Right,
you know what
absolutely.
I'm saying? And that's what when News 12 interviewed me. That's what I said. Right. It depends on the turnout. If there's a large turnout, then Latimer will win. But if it stays the small turnout that it's been, that we've been getting, Astorino's going to win easy. He's going to easily win.
They vote
locally.
But let's talk about hope. Latimer, ban the box, right?
Yes.
Gun shows, shut it down. Starting to take some action. Immigrant protection. So we're talking about somebody that has a vision, right? We backed him. He got in. Jenkins is their
deputy,
equals, right? I mean, there's some changes when you look at all of the people of color that he has filling up all of those positions. And I don't know. I just kind of feel like, we shouldn't give up hope, right? But that, we're holding him accountable, and he says, "Hold me accountable." The real bill, he said, "Of course we support that. Of course we support the real bill, racial equity assessment and legislation."
Well, can they? Let me ask you a question. Can they pass a real bill countywide?
Ooh. let's go talk to the legislature.
Yeah, well, let's see how much they support it.
Yeah.
because they could pass
That's right.
one on whatever passed through the county has to go through the same
set
standard.
Why don't we
President.
organize that and go and speak to the county legislature and
Absolutely.
educate them, because people need
Absolutely.
a process. I'm all for it.
Because
Really.
we could do that's a two-sided effort. We could work on the state and push the state,
And every county.
but if we could get our county that we live in to pass it first, that'd be a
And
beautiful
all
thing.
the counties in New York could do
Right,
this.
right, absolutely. Because look, we got the majority. Why can't we get it passed?
Yeah, because even if there's a law coming from the state and the legislator is able to assess our county laws and then make a resolution for any law coming from the state, like we've done our assessment here at the county level,
Right.
and we're looking at this same or similar law at the
Right.
state level, and we're writing to tell you that,
It works.
right.
It
And
works.
also, racial equity impact is a concept. It doesn't have to be laws. I mean,
Right.
people do
I
that
rather
all
have
the time.
laws because you know why?
Right.
Because the laws have hurt.
Well, not
The
only
laws have
that,
done harm.
it's because if a county exec changes or the majority of the legislation change, the policies change. So when you put it in law, it's there. They will have to actually go and undo
And
the
undo
law.
it.
And again, I use
Like
that
we had to
example.
undo Rockefeller.
I use the Eric Garner situation. The police policy, the chokehold was a policy, but it was not against the law.
Yeah, it
So
wasn't.
they didn't break any law.
Right,
what
right.
I'm
They
saying?
just broke policy.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay,
yeah.
so somebody answer this for me. As far as the Immigration Protection Act, ever since it was passed, I don't know if it's just me, but there has been an increase in ICE in Westchester County,
Yeah.
especially in places like Yonkers, that we never had an issue like that before, and now we do. Now people are running scared, and I've got pictures of ICE in several communities in Yonkers. And is it my imagination or not?
Where could we even get that data? I think they've been around.
No.
You know?
Not as
No,
visible.
well,
Not as visible.
well, maybe a little more visible, but that
Because they
has
got to
a-
do their job now.
Yeah, but that has nothing to do with what the law is that the county won't assist them in doing that, because they were trying to get the county to assist. And remember, that's just county. That's just the county government. See now every municipality has to pass the law.
Exactly.
They have to pass that law. So every municipality has to pass a law. That's just dealing with directly with county government. Now every municipality has to go in and pass a similar law to that effect. So when
But
you
it
hear
doesn't matter if they do, right?
no, the ICE can come get you. I mean, look, they can come get you. They just won't have assistance.
Cooperation.
Right, they're on their own.
Participation, Right.
Right, they got to come in and they got to do everything on their own. You know, and that.
Sanctuary cities.
Yeah. Well, it's not even. I mean, I wouldn't even call. I mean, sanctuary city. I wouldn't call it a sanctuary city, because that's to me that's a dog whistle, right? That's a dog whistle. That's just actually following the law. I can't remember what judge that said it. I wrote it in one of the statements, but he did say just because you undocumented does not mean that you don't have constitutional rights, right?
Actually, Ben Boykin said that.
Right.
Right.
I think he read my piece. Anyway, but yeah, I think he read my piece.
Talk about it.
Yeah, But you know, and that's true. You know, and that's true. But you know, just because you saying that you're not going to work with ICE on that, it's not a sanctuary city, because if a person's undocumented, right, and
They
he
got
gets
a felony?
well, even if they just undocumented, right, you just don't swoop them up. You know, you just don't come in and swoop them up. And even with 287G and the laws underneath Obama, right? When you got deported, you got caught, you went to see a judge. If you was found guilty, you did your little time, right? And then you got put on the list, and then they came and got you. Peace.
Right.
Wasn't
Went to the
it
judge.
right? Well, what they were doing is they were bypassing his due process, and they was taking the undocumented person before he even saw the judge. Right, and that's not, and that's not right, and it's an ongoing argument, and even with the I forgot it's not a warrant, whatever they pass down is really, that's not even clear. There's a lot of problems with this, right, and even the chiefs of the big city chiefs, they had a problem with it because it wasn't. The whole thing is not clear, but ICE can still come get you. But a lot of the police departments are falling back and let them deal with it, because what that does is if police get involved, then the immigrant community won't talk to the police. So if I'm a bad,
and they won't.
No, well, they're not.
The law passed, they're not going to talk to the police.
Well, that puts them in danger because of the fact that they could get robbed every day. They won't talk to the police.
And they could see somebody getting robbed, and they're not.
And they're not going to tell you. No, they can see.
That's a public safety issue.
Well, it's always been a public safety issue.
I had a problem with the Immigration Protection Act because I feel like if there's somebody in there with domestic violence issue and you let them go, they're just going to come out there and they're just going to finish it up and probably kill the spouse or whatever the case may be. I have a lot of problems with the Immigration Protection Act. But my brother Hector told me something the other day that made me think about it. I'm not saying I'm in favor of it, but it made me think about it, because he told me, he says, the majority of the people in Valhalla that are immigrants are people that are hardworking day laborers, that are having a rough time, and they have a drink and they get drunk and they have a problem with alcohol because of the situation that they're in, and then they're the ones that end up getting arrested, and they're the ones that end up, because of the stress, yes, they're the ones that end up, getting penalized or whatever the case may be with ICE. So I'm thinking about it a little bit like that, but I'm still not in favor of it. I have to be honest.
No, well, I mean.
But I think that's two different. Well, correct me if I'm wrong. So the Immigrant Protection Act is to say that there has to be due process. Like, you go to the court.
The one under Obama.
Huh?
The one under Obama gave you due process.
Right. So that's
right. The one under Obama gave you due process, and they didn't deport you for drinking beer, right? For BS. Right? Trump, you just gone. I mean, if you're undocumented, you're gone. And
right. It depends what nationality you are.
Well, that's what I was going to say also.
One of our listeners, Luis, about your thing about the spouse and domestic violence, she said, but this happens with legal Americans too. They kill their girlfriends every day.
Yeah, I know. I understand that, but why give somebody the opportunity to do it when you can stop them?
Through ICE or through local municipal law enforcement? Because I think that's the difference. We're talking about ICE coming into municipalities and carting people away, or is that the responsibility of the local municipalities if there's a domestic violence issue? That's not a documented immigrant issue.
I would say county.
It's still racist. I'm going to tell you why. I met a woman that works in a DV, a domestic violence program in Westchester, right? And I said to her, take an Undoing Racism workshop. She said, no, I know all about racism. She said, I deal with it all day long. And I said, really? She said, yeah. She said, all the men that we work with. I said, really? I said, what percentage of the men in the DV program are black? She said 100%. I said, really? 100%?
That doesn't happen.
And I said, where do all the white men go? You see? So it's always about race and the domestic violence. So why is this person going to have to be deported because of some drunken incident that happened? Why is he not going to get help, right? Why? Because he's
the problem with that person may work in an area that's more populated with African Americans. I actually worked in the family court. And I can tell you that domestic violence crosses all economic, racial, every barrier. But the person that you were speaking to may have only been working in an area with African Americans.
It's White Plains. It was White Plains.
Well, they all go to White Plains.
Right, they all go to White Plains. But how do you get 100%?
But I still believe that if you are in there for domestic violence and you are illegal, yes. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Yes, because there's a possibility that you may go back, and with domestic violence, it always increases. It does not decrease. And if you let them out, they're going to feel like, okay, well, shoot, I got old. You know what? I'm protected, and go back and finish the job. I guarantee you, I'm going to write about that one day in the paper.
No, listen, and that's. I mean, I never seen any undocumented for domestic violence. I mean, they're just a little drinking here and there. The majority is drinking, And I don't know what the hell. It's just drinking, man. It's just open containers. They
party like it's Cinco de Mayo every day.
If we were able to do a racial equity assessment on the Trump policy, right? That's not a law, but it's his policy. It would show that the targeted people are not people from European countries that are here in this country and not citizens, because there's a lot of them. There are a lot of undocumented immigrants from Ireland, England, Germany, all
European
kinds of European countries that are not getting deported. Justin Bieber is not an American citizen, and he's been in trouble with the law.
Drake.
And Drake is of color, but and he's been in trouble. Yes,
is he?
Yes, to our light skinned, melanated people. Yes, so it's still disproportional by race. People of color are the ones getting deported.
No, I agree. It was a press conference. I forgot. One of the guys, he was a senator back in the day, man, a couple of years ago. What was the senator before Terrence Murphy that had Terrence Murphy's position? Young guy.
Justin Wagner?
No. What the hell? Anyway, he had a press conference, right? After this whole national security and all this other stuff, right? So he was talking about, and he had, when he was talking about deporting undocuments, right, and he framed it around 9/11, right, and terrorists. So when we went to the press conference, and we're sitting there, and we're like, dude, do they look like Arabs or Mexicans, right? Mm-hmm. And they all look like Mexicans, right? So Anthony Miranda from the National Association of Latino Officers, he was sitting in the crowd. And he said, "Oh, let me ask you a question." He said, "These guys look like Guatemalans, look like Mexicans. None of them had flown a plane into a building. Like, it was crazy how he shaped the whole conversation." And he put and that's what they do,
yep.
And it's right, and it's unfortunate, but that was years ago. But look what they continue, to do to our brothers and sisters. But Republican George Bush, he welcomed them all, right? Mm-hmm. Right? Because what? He was cool. He was cool. He was cool with the president.
Republican Lorraine welcomes them all too. I just don't welcome domestic violence and other.
Well, you got
felonies.
Look. Then
every city, town.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of domestic violence and drunks that don't have to be undocumented. We need to deport out too.
Well, do you know that 80% of sexual assault victims in Westchester County are by immigrants?
80%. It's not that high.
No. You'd have to show them.
No.
You'd have to show. You have to bring.
No, I want that data.
You'd have to show that information.
I don't think it's that high.
I'm not being racist. How can I be a racist?
All right, we got
I'm a Latina.
We need comprehensive reform.
No.
We're not going to go round up 20 million undocumented people in this country.
No, we do.
No,
we're not.
We don't have the money to do it.
No, we're not, and I don't want that to happen either.
Well, Shanice said she's right.
What?
Well, I don't care. I just want somebody. I don't think it's that high though.
One of my best friends was a detective. He was working in the child sex assault unit, and I was working with them because I was trying to find them a safe place to bring these kids and these people. He had to resign because he could not take it. It was painful for him to watch. I know all the data. I don't know what the data is today, but I know what the data was before. My name is Lorraine.
Oh, Lorraine.
she heard that, boy.
Yeah.
Listen, Lorraine, remember I said that woman told me that 100% of the men in the domestic violence program, they were black. Can you see how the systems and the network that gets people into a program like that is making it is discriminating, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you tell me 80% of these
80%.
people are, but what happened to all of the white people that were doing the same thing?
That's the other 10%.
No, not 10%. There's a lot of that. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding
I'm
me?
sure, but they're not. I'm sure they are there. I'm sure they are there. But you know what? They're not coming out and speaking about it. They're staying in the closet.
Wait a minute. What we're talking
most
about
most of white Caucasian people do not speak about what goes on with the family.
because
They don't.
Well, Shanice
They don't
said the
report it.
white ones don't get to court.
That's right. They don't get the.
But I still like to see.
Right.
I would still like to see some
My husband-
documentation. Like I couldn't use you as a source for a story that you said that without documentation
Yeah.
to back that up.
But
Because if I wrote that, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's
I'd
what
be
you said.
liable
Yeah,
for
yeah.
whatever.
No, but the data would be racist, don't you see?
Yeah.
Because the system is tracking white men differently than it's tracking men of color.
Right. Yeah, Jay.
Don't hate me, people.
No,
Ain't nobody hating you.
Yeah,
But God darn it, I'm
Jack-
a stick to
Jack
my
Toon.
principles.
Jack too. Okay.
I'm trying to stay off the air, and you are exactly right.
Thank
right?
you.
Because when you
Come on,
When you
family,
go,
give us a break.
I'm gonna tell you something. On Halloween, they all have to be reported, and let me tell you, majority of them are what you said.
Yeah, but
White guys don't never get caught. They smart enough.
So then they
But that doesn't mean that means the data is corrupted.
I'm just saying
The data is corrupted.
Because I checked with the data.
Yeah,
Because
but
half of them live in Mount Vernon
Right,
now.
well, we're talking about domestic violence.
Max said money prevents court appearances.
Well, that's true, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
And this was said a while ago. Jack Toon, was it Toon or Toon?
Toon.
He said Barry needs to take an anti-racist workshop.
I'm doing racism.
What Barry do? Barry didn't say
Barry ain't
that.
say
I'm just
anything.
saying that's what he wrote though.
No, but we all do, because let's just talk about racism for a second. We are all infected by racism, okay? No one is exempt living in this country, living in this world, without being affected negatively or positively by racist institutions and systemic racism. So it is beneficial for everyone to take an Undoing Racism course.
Absolutely.
Because what happens is you get to see the legislation by decade, by year, by instance, whether it's redlining in where was that, Levittstown or whatever in Long
She said
Island,
the whole country.
the whole country, whether it's educational disparity, it's legislation that keeps racism as an institution.
We're coming to the close of the show, so I have to give you our last words because we're gonna
We have
run
an
out.
Undoing Racism workshop in Westchester at the Ethical Society. Come Thursday night, Friday, and Saturday. Go to www.antiracistalliance.com. You get the information there. And to learn about the real bill, we want your support. www.nys, like New York State, realbill.com. We need assembly people to become co-sponsors, and we have 18 and we need 70. So we need that.
We're gonna get it.
And we're going to get it. And we also want people to have their organizations sign on.
I'm working
Thank
on
you.
NIPAN, as well as the chapters. NIPAN is a statewide organization. I was up in Albany yesterday at the Democratic Rural Conference talking about this bill.
Oh yeah, didn't some people get endorsed up there real quick?
Oh, boy.
And quickly.
Okay. So yesterday was very exciting because NIPAN endorsed Cynthia Nixon for governor. We also endorsed congressional candidates in the 21st and 23rd District, Patrick Nelson and Ian Golden, respectively. We also endorsed Tom DiNapoli from New Rochelle for state comptroller. So we made a lot of endorsements yesterday. And then we're talking about the real bill. So, but yesterday we were endorsing. And then the Working Families Party. Now, this is historical. The Working Families Party has endorsed Governor Cuomo for his past 2 elections. Yesterday, they broke that tradition by endorsing Cynthia Nixon for governor.
I saw that.
And then they also endorsed Jumaane Williams for lieutenant governor. So why that's so important? Okay, the unions that supported the Working Families Party might break away after that endorsement because they are potentially endorsing Governor Cuomo, which is respectable.
Really?
Which is respectable.
Really?
Everybody has to make
Why?
their choice.
Why?
Everybody has to make the choice that's right for them.
We have to have the talk next.
So all I want to say,
Interesting.
yeah, right.
Yes, all I want to say is because those large endorsements that come with financial, contributions to the party is asking for $10 monthly recurring contributions from the people.
I'll put up $10, but I want. But we have to have the conversation down the line. Why are they endorsing, Cuomo? I mean, to me, the worst thing Cuomo signed is that the extra tier. That's horrible for working people. So I don't even understand why these unions are even going to endorse Cuomo.
Well, they haven't yet, but they're thinking about it.
Let me at them. Because I want to know why. I really want to know why. I really don't know why. Because these new people, these civil service is a great job, but now you get hired. There's no overtime in your pension. You can bust your butt, and then you have to pay. You have to pay into your whole career.
Well, this is a topic for another show.
Yeah.
As more and more African Americans and minorities get into these unions, it seems they want to take.
They did right, but thank you.
Oh, isn't that peculiar?
We can have a whole other show on that.
Yeah.
Okay, Lorraine, last words.
I just want to say
absolutely.
for the people of Yonkers to please stay woke, go to the city council meetings, and support your fire department, please, your local firefighters.
Yes.
Give a shout out for that.
All right, and contact information if they want to know more about.
That would be you
YFD.org.
Okay.
www.yfd.org.
Oh, that's it? That's your last word?
Well, I love you two guys. AJ.
Oh, cute.
We thank you for all your support to the radio show, the paper, and everything.
Do a great job.
Definitely appreciate that. Damon.
I had a great time today, man.
You got a lot of comments. Great show.
Yeah,
great show,
had a great time today.
Congratulations on being honored.
Thanks. Yeah, we got a little certificate from the Jules Mentoring Program Foundation, Black Westchester Magazine. It was very, it was surprising. I just went to support, and they recognized. And look for us on WVOX, 1490 AM, the first Monday of every month, from 11 AM to 12. It's going to be something very interesting to be on actual radio.
Terrestrial radio,
and I have to
right.
remember I'm not on internet radio.
Can't
It got commercials.
Right, there's certain things I can't say.
and got a break for commercials.
Right, and we gotta have commercial breaks and all that other stuff. But it's great. I think it's going to be a good relationship with us and WVOX and people listen out. Make us the best show that they ever heard before on a noon time, so we could get more time on the show. More time on the station. More days. Yeah.
Instead
More listeners.
Instead of being monthly, then we could be weekly or something.
Yeah, we could be weekly. So I mean,
Nice.
I'm looking forward. Oh, and we having a press conference next Friday at Alvin and Friends. Everybody's invited at 3 p.m. Black law enforcement from all over New York State is coming to give their support for Shelley Mayer for New York State Senate, so we could keep the Democrats in.
Don't forget my brother.
Yeah, I said all law enforcement.
You said black.
Black and Latino.
Oh, yeah.
Black and Hispanic, Latino officers of color. We're coming out for Shelley Mayer, so we can maintain control of the Senate. Keep Andrea as the Democratic leader.
She's
done a great job, and if you have nothing to do, come on out, because after the press conference, we're going to go out to the bar, we're going to fellowship, and we're going to network and get to know each other as family.
Absolutely. So everybody spoke. Everybody, your companies, everything okay? Good. Listen.
Wait.
You have 30 seconds. I'm over
My
time.
name is Shanice Coleman, and let me tell you one thing. I love AJ and I love Damon. Please congratulate Damon and AJ for doing the best job in Westchester newspaper.
There you go.
Thank you,
love
thank
you
you,
guys.
thank you, thank you.
Damon,
Thank you.
I'm not going to cut you like I'm going to cut Andre.
Hey. So thank you everybody for
I love
listening.
Andre.
Thank you everybody for listening. The April issue is out right now. Support that. Still have about a week. Still have about a week and a half to advertise, which is how we keep the paper free for the readers. Your advertising dollar pay for the paper, and I always say we try to give information that normally does not trickle down to certain neighborhoods. If we were to charge 50 cents or $1 for the paper, the people who need the information would never get the information. So we work very, very hard to keep the paper free, but that helps with your advertising dollars. So definitely hit us, advertisingwithbw@gmail.com. Thank you for everybody who supports us. Like I said, we're about to come out with our 10th issue, which means we're coming close to our 1-year anniversary. The first paper came out August 2017. So, we're looking forward to that. Definitely looking forward to being on WVOX. I think that's going to be a nice addition to the little media empire we're doing. We got a lot of other things in the works. I couldn't read everybody's shout-outs, but if you did give us a shout-out, thank you. Thank you for listening. Tell a friend to tell a friend. You are listening to Black Westchester Presents, the People Before Politics radio show every Sunday night, 6 to 8 on InTheMixRadio.com. Until next week, when our guest will be...
Councilwoman Shanae Williams at Santiago.
Yeah. It's who? Somebody else.
Hector Santiago?
Yes.
Who's that?
Stop and
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I guess those are the only two we have down. So, yes, that'll be our guest for next week. Until next week, peace.
22 million black victims of Americanism are waking up, and they're gaining a new political consciousness, becoming politically mature. And as they develop this political maturity, they're able to see the recent trends in these political elections. Any minority that has a block of votes that stick together is in a strategic position. Either way you go, that's who gets it. You're in a position to determine who go to the White House and who stay in the doghouse. You're the one who has that power. You and I have never seen democracy. All we've seen is hypocrisy. When we open our eyes today and look around America, we see America not through the eyes of someone who has enjoyed the fruits of Americanism. We see America through the eyes of someone who has been the victim of Americanism. We don't see any American dream. We've experienced only the American nightmare. We haven't benefited from America's democracy. We've only suffered from America's hypocrisy. And the generation that's coming up now can see it and are not afraid to say it. 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 And are not afraid to say it.